Hey everyone, welcome to our explainer. Today we are diving deep into some core ideas from Andrew F. Branca's must-read book, The Law of Self-Defense. And look, this isn't about the physical fight. Not really. It's about the legal war that comes right after, a fight you absolutely have to be ready to win.
This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the matter. Surviving a violent encounter is priority number one. Of course, you have to win that fight. But as Branca makes so clear, that's just round one. Round two, the legal battle? Well, that can be just as brutal, and it can cost you everything. Your freedom, your money, your entire future. Okay, so let's get into the core problem. The legal system, the judge, the jury, the lawyers, none of them were there. They didn't see what happened. They didn't feel the fear and adrenaline pumping through your veins. All they have to go on is the evidence that's left over. So what this means is that a trial, it's not really about finding out what actually happened. As the book explains it, it's a competition between two stories. The prosecutor is going to take all that evidence and weave a story that makes you look guilty, like you were the aggressor. And your lawyer? They're going to use the exact same evidence to tell a story of innocence. Whichever story is more compelling, more believable, and more legally sound, that's the one that wins. And this is where things get, well, honestly, kind of terrifying. The second that physical fight is over, the roles legally flip upside down. The person who attacked you, who forced you to defend yourself, in the eyes of the law, he's now the victim. And you're now the suspect. You're not the good guy anymore, you're just another case file on a desk. And this slide, wow, it really shows you the long, grinding road you're about to go down. It all starts with a report of a crime, and from there, you're sucked into this huge, intimidating system. Arrest, booking, getting charged, going to court, and maybe a full-blown trial. And at every single one of those steps, your life is in the hands of complete strangers who are just doing their job. So, with a reality that grim, what's the answer? What can you possibly do? Well, according to Branca, you don't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. The solution is to understand the law so deeply that your actions, in that critical moment, are already building a powerful and legally bulletproof story of innocence. The book gives us this incredible framework, the 5 elements of self-defense. Think of them like 5 links in a single chain that's holding up your entire legal defense. You've got innocence, meaning you weren't the one who started it. Imminence, the threat was happening right now. Proportionality, the force you used was appropriate for the threat you faced. Avoidance, you couldn't safely get away. And finally, reasonableness, that everything you did and believed was sensible. And the key is, you need every single link. Now here's the really crucial thing to get about that chain metaphor. The prosecutor, they don't have to break all 5 links to win. No way. All they have to do is find the weakest one. If they can prove the threat wasn't really imminent or that your force was excessive, if they break just one link, the whole chain shatters, and your claim of self-defense just collapses. All right, let's keep building on this. Every single one of those 5 elements is judged against one single, incredibly important legal standard. And it's not about what you felt was right in the heat of the moment. It's all about what the law considers objectively reasonable. This is what's called the reasonable person standard. The jury has to judge your actions through the eyes of this imaginary person, this hypothetical, ordinary, and prudent person. This person is careful, they're sensible, and they don't act rashly. Everything you did has to line up with what this ideal, reasonable person would have done in your exact same situation. Now, the law is fair in some ways. It gives this reasonable person your physical traits, so your age, your size, any disabilities you might have. It also gives them the special knowledge you had at the time. But, and this is a huge but, it never considers if you were intoxicated, or if you were acting out of pure panic or paranoia. The reasonable person is always sober and acts based on solid evidence, not on a wild guess. So what's the big takeaway here, the point of all this? It's that understanding these principles isn't just some boring legal exercise. It's about consciously preparing yourself so that if, God forbid, the worst ever happens, your actions themselves are already building the strongest possible argument for your innocence. And that brings us to the ultimate goal. You want your actions, from start to finish, to make you look like a prosecutor's worst nightmare. See, prosecutors have careers, and they're judged on their conviction rates. They hate taking on cases they're likely to lose. So if you look legally invulnerable, you might just win that second fight before it even gets to a courtroom. We're going to end on a really heavy question, one that Branca asks everyone who reads his book. Knowing what you know now, about the massive legal, financial, and emotional storm that follows any use of force, even when it's totally justified? Was it worth it? Thinking about that question right now, long before you ever have to face it, might just be the most important part of your preparation.